Now I would like to invite our second guest speaker, who has many research publications to his credit. He is the head Department of English, Bahauddin Zikriya University Layyah campus, an HEC approved supervisor and author of various works in fiction and poetry. Please welcome on stage Dr. Zahoor Hussain.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for the introduction. So, I'm going to talk about some recent fields in linguistics and applied linguistics. In applied linguistics, we have seen that there are certain important and emerging fields, subfields. For instance, eco-linguistics is there, corpus is there, subaltern linguistics is there. So these are some of the fields which should be focused and students can do research on it. And today I'm going to talk about an eco-linguistic study of Pakistani advertisements. It's good food, good life. Eco-linguistics, definitely it's an interplay between language and our environment. Discourse, definitely the way we people are treating. There are certain general things that I'm watching, we all are observing in our neighborhood, that how our nature is being, I'm sorry to say, destroyed, or the direction we people are going. We are really facing a lot of crisis in terms of preserving our nature, our ecosystem. So in this regard, there are different ways you have seen there. It can be advertisement is there, discourse is there, gossip is there, and all these channels we people are using. Through linguistic and paralinguistic choices, the audience are presented to follow only the message which may benefit the business chap, not the other things. Only one aspect is highlighted. And lastly, the language should be used judiciously and can also be exploited for the betterment of this planet and its inhabitants so that they could live in harmony with each other. So this is all about eco-linguistics.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable ideas, findings, and knowledge on food and eco-linguistics. Now, our third speaker is a famous name in Pakistani academia. He is an assistant professor in the Department of English, Islamia University, Bahawalpur. He has many research publications in the field of linguistics and HEC approved supervisor. A big round of applause for Dr. Shahid Nawaz.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Today my presentation is addressing violence, conflict, and biased attitudes through language, a peace linguistics perspective. So here we go with the outline. Peace, peace education, aims of peace education, the Hague Agenda for Peace and Justice for the 21st Century, applied linguistics, peace linguistics and concrete actions, peace linguistics, empirical studies, violence, conflict and biased attitudes, peace and social cohesion, peace linguistics and linguistic diversity, language teacher and peace promotion, and finally the conclusion. Next, please. So peace is basically the absence of conflict, violence, and biased attitudes. So here we have a definition that says that peace is a concept of societal friendship and harmony in the absence of hostility and violence. In a social sense, peace is commonly used to mean a lack of conflict and freedom of fear of violence between individuals or groups. there were certain techniques, certain words that language teachers can use in their classrooms, these are certain don'ts and do's. Don't denigrate, always appreciate. Don't detract, attract. Don't suspect, respect. Don't manipulate the situation, rather cooperate. Don't discard, regard. Don't offend, commend. Don't indoctrinate, rather illuminate. Don't mortify, rather dignify. Dignify your talks, dignify your communication, dignify your dialogues. Don't humiliate, rather humanize. Don't resist, rather assist. Don't attack, rather question in a very polite manner. Next. So friction and conflict, they are basically caused by socio-economic pressure, disparities, inequalities, intolerance in the society. It can be religious intolerance or political bias. So such frictions and conflicts can be addressed with a considerate effort. So I conclude with the last comment that these conflicts, these biases, we cannot end them, but through effort, we can try to minimize them. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Shahid, for sharing your knowledge on peace linguistics. It's a time for panel discussion. I invite Mrs. Sana Mansoor to moderate the session.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank to all of you for squeezing time to join us today in International Symposium of Linguistics and Literature. So, secondly, I wish to welcome you all, and I would like to welcome everyone, Deputy Director, our all HoDs, our Rector, and all faculty members and the students of English department. Thank you very much, the presenters who have delivered a wonderful presentation, and I would like to invite Dr. Galip to come on the stage for discussion session. Thank you, sir. I would like to invite Dr. Zahoor Hussain. Please come on the stage. Lastly, I would like to invite Dr. Shahid Nawaz. Please come on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is question answer session, and the floor is open for your queries. Your questions are welcomed. You can ask any questions related to your research and the trends in linguistics and literature. So the experts are here, the presenters are here. If you have any questions related to their presentations or related to your research or their research, you can ask any question. For raising question, you have to raise your hand, you have to mention your name, and also you have to mention the name of the presenters for whom you are asking question.
Sir, Zahoor Hussain से मैं सवाल करना चाहता हूँ. Can eco-linguistic influence classroom ecology? Can you please answer it, sir?
Listen to me, eco-linguistics basically is meant to maintain ecosystem. It can be anywhere, inside the class or outside the class. So basically it's meant for balance. And it's an interplay, overall, generally when we study this subject, it's an interplay between language and environment. We have to see that I'm not getting that what sort of environment you people are talking within the classroom. If you can specify it, so it will be better for me. Otherwise, eco-linguistics is meant to maintain a sort of a balance and ecosystem in the society in all terms.
Thank you.
Sir, inside class, if there can be some sort of thing, for instance, outside the class, we can see advertisement, an example is there. And inside the class, if I'll quote, I give you an example, when students are studying, in our course or in syllabus sometime, there are chapters on environment and different other things, discussions over there one. So we have to, it's as a teacher, discourse is meant to bring some sort of harmony, to bring some sort of balance, ecosystem, so that people can measure it and can see both the things, not just one. There are different theories. There can be 3, 4 theories. For instance, if students are most of the time are following a model for earning a lot of money, this is how we people are inspired one, then it's also the role of a teacher to tell the students that it's not only the money that's very important, our environment is also sort of a precious thing. It's also just like a money, the air we people are inhaling. So in this way, we can manage it and we can map it inside the class.
Thank you, Dr. Mamuna here. That's a wonderful idea of eco-linguistics or the peace linguistics. What I got from your talk is that introducing climate action into the language classroom. So we need to introduce short courses and we need to make it part of the English syllabi. And that is calling forth the change in BS English studies as well. And number 2, we need to talk more on the practical and future implications of both concepts, eco-linguistics and I think peace linguistics. Thank you.
Yes, it's a very good comment. Definitely we can go ahead with these things. Thank you.
So my question is from Dr. Galip. So you were talking about gamification of language teaching. So don't you think that we will have to revisit our dictionaries because we have inbuilt semantic patterns that we take a kind of playfulness as a kind of pejorative term, that it is something that show lack of seriousness. So keeping in this gamification of language teaching, shouldn't we take this practice to lexicography?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question because imagine that you enter the classroom. When you say, do you want to play a game? Automatically you lose the control. Everything is out of your control. So the thing is that we should be doing that implicitly because our aim is teaching the language. Game is only a tool, just like technology. We say computer-assisted language learning, blah, blah, assisted language learning, blah, blah, mediated language teaching. We shouldn't forget that it is just a tool, a medium to achieve something. So when we gamify or when we use the gamification here, of course, we shouldn't forget that fact. If we forget, students only focus on the fun part. That's why do it in an implicit way, but don't make your activities boring.
Ji, my question is from Dr. Shahid. I am Muhammad Asif Nadeem. I want to ask that, is there any relationship between linguistic peace and the religious peace?
Yes, of course. Our own religion, Islam, teaches peace. This is one of the instance or example. Then, since I talked about different types of peace, like inner peace, so most often inner peace comes from spiritual values, either, or from religion. So I think there is a grim relationship between all these things. Yes.
Welcome back our honorable guests
And thank you, dear audience, for sticking to time. And let's continue the second session of this symposium. And now I request our fourth esteemed speaker, who is also a renowned scholar in the field of linguistics with many research publications to his credit. Head Department of English, Islamia University, Bahawalpur. Please welcome Dr. Riaz Hussain.
So my presentation focuses on literature. And this is indigenous literature of Pakistan, the celebrated poetry of Hazrat Khwaja Ghulam Farid Rahmatullah Alayh. I shall be looking at from the perspective of Farid found the elixir of life. Khalkat kujindi gole, hardam Farid de kole. For whom the creatures search day and night is with Farid every morn and eve. Next. So impact on society. What was the impact on society? Kalachvi, 1991, conclude that despite British colonial dominance, materialism and atheism, so since British Empire tried to spread atheism and materialism here in this land, Western values could not find any space in Bahawalpur because of the message of Farid. Thus, as a Sufi poet and communicator, Farid succeeded in bringing about spiritual transformation in less developed areas. He saved people, impact of society. He saved people from the negative influences of colonial culture. Next. That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for these thought-provoking ideas. We have really learned a lot, and I hope the students have also found new dimensions about Khwaja Farid's poetry. Now it's time to grace the stage with the presence of a man of excellence, a renowned intellectual in the field of literature, a distinguished personality. He has rendered his services as an assistant professor in Namal University, Islamabad, and had been co-editor of Namal Journal of Critical Inquiry. He is a co-translator of Sorrows of Saraswati, Bahau, Pakistan Academy of Letters, has served as head Department of English, University of Sialkot and GC University, Faisalabad Layyah campus. Before joining Institute of Southern Punjab, he had served as Dean Faculty of Sciences and Humanities in University of Sialkot. And in your great round of applause, I would like to invite Head Department of English, Dr. Saleem Khan.
So, Honorable Director General, respected Pro-Rector, Directors, Deans, HoDs, students, and my dear colleagues from Department of English, Assalamu Alaikum. So, as I have titled my presentation, Supremacism and Skewness, Negotiating Insularity of the Imperialist Idiom. So, to put it simply, I want to share with you people my ideas with reference to the discursive gimmickries that are being used by the erstwhile imperialist powers that we simply call the Western countries to mislead these former colonies, and they have still got their expansionist ideologies with them, and they are trying their best to promote those ideologies in our countries. So the first question that we think about these kind of topics, or before discussing these kind of topics, is that why should we take up these questions? Why this negotiation? Because without understanding this why, we cannot understand or perceive the answers that are there. So, if you are awake to the development of the critical thought since the second half of the 20th century, you must be knowing the fact that there has been a kind of unimaginable spread or a kind of currency of the words like post-colonialism, anti-colonialism, counter-narrative, and counter-discourse. So much so that in academia, these kind of expressions have become buzzwords. So you may think that when something has already been established, something that has already been critically acclaimed, then why to renegotiate it? This is the question. So the answer is very simple. The answer is that we are a former colony. We, Pakistani, I'm speaking as a Pakistani, of course. So we cannot undo that very colonial past. So those unbridgeable breaches are still there. If I am speaking English, it is by and large dependent upon that very colonial experience. If most of you are able to understand the language of the master that you call lingua franca, it is only because of that very colonial baggage that we are having on our backs. So willingly or unwillingly, consciously or unconsciously, that very colonial idiom, colonial expression, colonial thought continues. And that very, in Miltonic terms, that very Leviathan is still alive. When that Leviathan is alive, when those clutches are there, when those discursive practices are there, when those gimmickries are there, when those chicaneries are there, so consideration of all the colonial projects, humanism is the need of the time. And if you have heard about Harari, the notoriously famous historian of our ages, he has been throwing this question that what can save this world? It is coexistence. Our survival, either we are Western or Eastern, if we don't unite against the superhuman maladies, we will be eradicated from the surface of the earth. And the only remedy is justice, humanism, and unity for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and your critical insight on imperialist idiom, colonialism, and post-colonialism. I feel great pleasure in introducing our keynote speaker of the symposium. He is an assistant professor of applied linguistics in the Department of Foreign Language Education at Mehmet Akif Ersoy University, Burdur, Turkey, a postdoctoral member of the Center for Global Englishes, Southampton University, UK. His research interests include global Englishes, English as lingua franca, world Englishes, language policy and planning, and teacher education. Author of 17 books and more than 50 publications, he has published widely in various referred international journals. Serves on different editorial boards at national and international journals, involved in writing projects regarding EMI and global Englishes. Member of several research centers, Center for Global Englishes, English Language Teacher Education Research, English as Lingua Franca Research Network. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming home Dr. Ali Karakas.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Okay, no, it works. It's a great introduction, by the way. Thank you so much. I feel so flattered. And as you all know, the closure of this symposium depends on my talk, right? So I want you to be engaging, otherwise I'm going to prolong the talk. So you'll have to see it. But to my surprise, normally in Turkey, when we have conferences, congresses, after the lunch sessions tend to be quite empty, but mashallah, I see that the number has increased. Thank you so much for attending this talk. And maybe some of you might know, I've been here before. This is my second time, so I'm not a foreign. I know ISP, the facilities, but it's growing, it's extending. And I'd like to thank the director, the organizer of the symposium for bringing us together here on this very beautiful day, although we can't see the weather here. So today I'm going to talk about real-world English and school English. First thing first, do you have an idea what school English might mean and what real-world English might mean? Any idea? Just a couple of responses would suffice. I'm not going to take too many responses.
Real is practical English, like in a community when we go for performing different purposes, social. School is that is limited to like a school environment in the form of EFL.
Yeah, the school English that we don't use outside. consisting of grammar, lexical knowledge, often not that much practical, impractical. But the real world English, here we have the real world English. Have you ever come across a Pakistani speaker in a mainstream ELT coursebook listening text? No, right? Turkish speaker? No. Any names of Pakistani speakers? Farhan, Saqib, you will see David, James, Jennifer, William, Baker. This is the mainstream ELT. This is how they approach from a standard English's native English-oriented perspective. But this is the real English. I'm addressing the majority of Pakistani speakers here, but through the medium of English. So I actually conducted a research project together with the local director of Minister of National Education. The purpose was, especially in the city where I live, students cannot see any reason why they should learn English. But it's a must in the school curriculum. As Galip Doctor says, brush aside the curriculum because it's quite problematic, but they have to learn. But they can't feel a real single need. Why should they learn? They just sit like a mathematics class, geography class, which has to be passed with high grades, scores on the paper, on the GPA. That's it. Because they cannot see the practicality. Therefore, we decided to conduct a research project together with the Faculty of Education, and we recruited all the international students in our project. We sent them to the schools, to certain schools, selected schools, and they accompanied the classroom teacher. And their actual role was just to speak English in the classroom with students, 2 hours per week. In conclusion, especially policy makers, the guys that live in the stone houses, they should definitely involve the real agents, teachers, practitioners, who actually put the policies into the practices. Oh, I might just sit here, make lots of nice decisions, but it's Galip's duty, right? Galip is going to put these decisions into practice. Ask him whether these policies are realistic or not. They never do this in Turkey. Top down. They make the decisions, they hand the decisions to you, now you're in a position to put them, implement them. But how about your resources? How about your training? New IT tools, but I don't have it. Even if the IT tool is there, I have no training how to use it, right? How can I use it? No training. Gamification, Second Life. We have teachers at the age of 45, English teachers. They had trouble during this COVID-19, you know? They said the laptop is not working because if you do not turn on, it doesn't work. The cable's unplugged. They call the IT guys. I have a problem with the laptop. You see, digital natives, non-digital natives. If you fall behind technological advances, even if you have the facilities, it all comes down to human agency, us. We should be also equipped. So again, it brings us to teacher education curriculum. Hocam, do we have any courses on technology IT? 1 or 2. Simple classes. How to use Word. Titles in Word. Table contents in Word. Gone to the 19th century stuff. So, my final word, again, whatever the policies are, it all comes down to one factor, teachers. If teachers take the first step in the right direction, it's going to happen. So thank you so much for your patience. Now I'm taking the right step and leaving the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for enlightening presentation on English language teaching. The fragrance of flowers spread only in the direction of the wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. I request to Director General Mr. Saqib Nazir to grace the stage and share his precious word with us.
Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Finally, it's my turn. And the final one. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for having made this possible. Without you, we wouldn't have done this, I think. Before I go ahead with my speech, I want you to share your honest opinions or feedback. How was it? MashaAllah, very good, very impressive. So finally, I think we have met the results we were expecting it to be. It is all about clinical linguistics. It is a relatively new discipline and emerging in a large part since the late 1970s. Clinical linguistics is a sub-discipline of applied linguistics involved in the description, analysis, and treatment of language disabilities. Now, coming back to the main topic, Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful, extremely satisfied that we finally have organized the third International Symposium on Linguistics and Literature. Dr. Riaz Hussain Saab, he has worked at ISP 5 years back, though he stayed just for a year. Then obviously he had a better opportunity to choose from. He joined IUB, Islamia University. We have always been staying in touch with him. He came up with the idea last month and he shared right away with us, being a well-wisher of ISP, that he wants to organize a symposium, a conference at IUB. It was good of him. He took ISP as his second home, and he gave us the chance to be a part of this mutual effort. And when we agreed, when we said yes to him, then we initiated. And the first symposium was conducted a few days ago at IUB, and Alhamdulillah, today we have conducted symposium at ISP as well. I always feel pride to say that we being ISP, we being a degree awarding institute, a chartered institute, we are considered to be number one in whole south of Punjab region. The reason, we must understand, and we should know this. Why do we call this? Why do we say every time that we are number one choice amongst students when it comes to higher education? Name any single privately managed institution or university across south of Punjab, I can assure you, having this big infrastructure, the facilities which are being provided at ISP, the professional faculty we are having on board, and allied facilities which are being given to you for 7 days a week for round the year. Of course, we have to admit this, that we are number one in the region, and we have a huge responsibility on our shoulders since we claim this to be the number one institution in the town in the South Punjab region, that it is a long journey. universities or institutions are made to live forever. They are not going to go away. Of course not. I was having a word with Dr. Galip, Kartal, and I was telling him that in June I was in Scotland, England. I happened to be in one of the oldest city, St. Andrews, which is known as one of the leading medicine university, St. Andrews University. And it is very difficult as we consider KE, King Edward Medical College. It is very difficult to get admission into. In the similar way, it is quite difficult for the medicine students to get admission into St. Andrews University. And I think it is, when it comes to rating, it is probably the third or fourth highly ranked university in UK after Oxford and Cambridge. And I was there, luckily, with my family. And I was having a visit inside the university, though at that time they were having summer holidays. I had a look on the engraved nameplate of the university. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not forgetting, the date which was seen by me at that time, it was founded in 14th century sometime. So just imagine the history of these advanced, developed nations. How far have they gone? And where we have left behind. I'm not feeling pleased saying this, that we still have a long way to go. We will have to put many efforts, many investments in education sector. And without the contribution of private sector, for your information, there are probably 200 plus private and public sector universities in Pakistan. Out of those 200 universities, 125, I may be wrong, because the statistics which I have seen were about a few years ago on HEC website. Anyways, there are probably 75 or 80 private sector universities across Pakistan who are producing graduates after every 6 months or maybe after 4 months. Do we think, are we the ones? Are we the distinctive ones? I'm asking you, are you the distinctive ones? Are you the chosen ones? You have to. We have to have confidence within ourselves. We, being heads of the institution, we are providing you every single humanly possible best out of the best facility. Now we have transferred our responsibility on your shoulders. I always say this. We might have played our part, having constructed this masterpiece, and we are still expanding we are still buying adjacent lands, mango orchards around us. We are comprising of 40 or 45 acres of land today. And Alhamdulillah, we are still buying every bit of land available to us. We are continuously in the process of buying. Why are we doing this? Because students have shown trust in us. Their number every year is increasing, alhamdulillah, in terms of admissions. So we have to think for the years to come, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, if we wouldn't be doing this, if we would not be constructing more buildings in the coming years, how could we make you sit in the lecture rooms which we have at the moment? So what I'm trying to emphasize is, this time is very precious, very, very important. You have been sitting since morning, maybe 9:30 or 10, and now it is 3:30. Please give your fullest. Give your fullest. I do not want time to be wasted by you in any way. No matter you have joined our institution for 2 years or 4 years course, time is flying like anything. Time has feathers which are unseen, but time is flying so quickly. Like you people are sitting opposite to me, I am recalling of the faces who have passed out, who have got extremely good jobs. Some of them, some of the graduates of ISP, they have managed to get jobs abroad, out of the country. But let me assure you, let me tell you, they were the ones who studied well, who achieved high grades, most importantly, high grades. And let me share one more thing to you. When we come across thousands of applicants who are begging for couple of thousands salary, which will be paid to them. When I take a look on the CVs, resumes, every single CV seems better than the previous one. Sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we find it really difficult. Which candidate should we be picking out of these 100 of CVs, 100 of teachers who are applying for few jobs, few assignments, few teaching assignments at ISP. So, realize the importance of studies. We have attended such a marvelous session today. I myself learned a lot. And I hope every single one of you would have brought notepads with them, and you should have noted down whatever was being expressed, whatever was being shared. Finally, thank you very much, every single individual who have been a helping hand to have organized symposium, the 3rd International Symposium on Linguistics I want every one of you to have a huge round of applause for the keynote speakers who made their way all the way from Turkey